Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror of It All movie podcast. I'm Eric, and this is Adam. Say hi, Adam.
Oh, hey.
So, how's things been since the last time we did one of these?
Good. Work is busy, and I had the weekend
Yeah.
off, so not bad.
Or even better. Yeah.
So how about you?
Good. Same old.
Yeah.
I'm well, not the greatest. I've been pretty sick, but today it's slowly going down. Yesterday was pretty bad. I had like sinus crap, and I have asthma, so as you probably remember, so I have lung stuff and stomach stuff. It wasn't fun, but I'm getting better. But yeah. So this episode, unless there was anything else you wanted to say, we can dive right into it.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. And can you hear me good? I know one of the last time we were like I was fading in and out or whatever, but
Yeah, no, you sound good.
okay. Yeah, I messed with the audio again. Okay. This particular episode is going to be on my favorite Christmas horror movie called Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I know a lot of people go for the sequel more. I'll get into sequels also, but the first one is always tops out of all those for me, and I've seen it ever since I was a kid. I still have a big box VHS tape,
Nice.
and every time there's like a new version, I definitely get it. I like it now too because one of the main things I wanted to ask you before we get into it was I don't know if I sent you a message or not, or maybe I did. Did you watch the uncut version, like that had like the especially when it was violent, it would switch to like the quality of the picture would switch a little bit, like
Yeah.
yeah, because that's the best they can do it, because even the one that I gave you, and I have the Screen Factory one, even them, they tried, but the quality of I don't know if it was a print or whatever, but that's the best they could possibly get it, but you can still see everything, and
Yeah,
so
it still looked good. It didn't really distract from it at all.
yeah, definitely. So that's good. So I guess the all-important question that I was curious, what did you end up thinking about it?
I liked it a lot. I don't know.
I'm excited now.
I didn't really go into it expecting anything, so it was nice, like fresh, and yeah, it was good.
Awesome. Yeah, and even for a movie of its kind, I was thinking of it while I was rewatching it again. Like, you're almost maybe waiting for like a certain character, like the acting's off or it's terrible. I really think pretty much, if not everybody in this movie, actually did a good job. You know, they're not like big actors or anything, but they were good actors.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Mother Spirit. There was one of the nuns that threw me off a little, because
Yeah.
like her hand motions didn't line up with what she was saying. Like she would say it, and then after she would kind of like gesture.
Okay, I did actually have not noticed that. I'll look for that.
Oh yeah, that's the only one that I just kind of laughed at. But everything else was good. I was satisfied with it.
Yeah. Speaking of Mother Superior, that woman was a great actress, but god damn it, she's my least favorite character. I hate her so much.
Oh man, the whole time I was kind of hoping something would happen to her, but
Mm.
it was just terrible.
No, yeah, I get it though. But and then that it might be the same one you're talking about, because I can't remember her name. The one that you said like it doesn't match up with what she's saying with her hand gestures. Was it the one that was always trying to talk to her that got Billy? She understood Billy, and everything that Mother Superior put him head on to. She was like, this is like basically this is gonna end badly.
Yeah, I don't think it was her. I think it was just kind of another like side nun.
Okay.
I remember her in like one shot, and after that, she didn't look familiar at all.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so it wasn't like one of the main ones. That's good.
No.
So I guess I can kind of get into it. Talk a little bit about the movie as we talked about before, if that's cool with you, where we mentioned on the other podcast, we're not big into like spoilers or anything, but when it's specific about a movie, we can even put it in the description. Like if you haven't seen this, definitely watch it first, because we'll be talking about the movie and some specific things. So
Oh yeah, we're gonna ruin it.
yeah. But all right, going through. Let's see some of my notes. I already asked you about what version you watched, so that's good. I can start with simple things like I don't know if on the Blu-ray that I gave you it had the tagline, but another great 80s slasher tagline. It was you made it through Halloween. Now try to survive Christmas. I thought that was cool.
That's good.
Right? And I don't know if it was a tagline, but it's also on the original like art on the Screen Factory one. But it sounds like a tagline. There's also another one on it that says "He knows when you've been naughty." That sounds like a tagline. So I guess it has a couple.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Like I'm super excited that you liked it because I didn't think that you might not like it, but if you really liked it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Finally. Yeah. And then I'll give you even more initiative when we watch more movies because you're like, well, I got to watch it for the podcast. So.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking too, we could do favorites too. Like you could pick one, like some of our top 5. Like I was thinking it'd be cool, like do a Tucker and Dale episode or whatever. But
oh yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. One other thing I wanted to add before I got into like about the movie. I can't remember where it was because I've been to a few conventions other than Rock and Shock, but I have met his name's Robert Brian Wilson. He played Billy. I met him a couple years ago. He was pretty awesome. We talked a lot about because I had kids and he had kids and like his stance on what he thinks about younger people watching this, and I kind of get it. But he's like, and I completely agree. This is my stance on it. As long as you explain to your kids that it's a movie and everything, obviously this probably wouldn't be too good for some kids super young, obviously, because they're not going to understand. But which was cool. I have a poster signed by him. He even wrote "Punish" on it, so
nice.
That's cool. But yeah, I know. Speaking of the kids thing, there was a whole history with this movie about like the ads for the movie came out like a good 10 days before it was in the theater, and but back then it was a little different, so they play it whenever, so they could be playing it like in the afternoon and kids are watching TV, so I kind of get that where the mother would be like, I don't want my kids watching this, but at the same time turn the channel. I know some people are like, it would be like, well, it shouldn't have to. Well, you're right, but if you don't want them seeing it, you're the parent.
Well, like ads are pretty good. They don't show like a lot of blood and gore, so overall, just don't take your kid to see it in the theater.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you?
Yeah.
But get to a movie about a killer Santa Claus. But yeah, and then it got even farther than that, where they took it from there to they were doing like protests. Excuse me, and they would show up outside of theaters, and unfortunately, they got their way, and the movie wasn't in the theater very long at all, and it got pulled. So it more or less got its like footing, I guess, and like its cult status, so to speak, when it got to video. But I found that interesting. But
yeah,
I mean, at the same time, go ahead.
Oh no, that's a huge bummer because I read something on IMDb that said it opened same weekend as Nightmare on Elm Street, and it did better for a short time.
Yeah, exactly. That's yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if like if they didn't protest, if it would have been Nightmare.
That's
like if
true.
It would have had the success. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting. I don't know if I knew that. So, good job, buddy. You had a fact I didn't know. But yeah, I always found that crazy and interesting. I mean, it's almost like I get it on both ends. I'm a parent, so I get it, but I wouldn't go that far because you know how I am with my kids. I explain to the kids, and at the same time too, I'm also not the kind of person, anybody who's listening, that is completely anti showing their kids horror movies. That's great. That's like your choice. But I don't force anything on my kids either. It all depends on the kid. If the kid can handle it, we'll see how it is. Like for instance, I wouldn't think so because he seems like a skittish kid, but Ed, my oldest, he'll basically watch anything, and if he's too scared, he'll say he's too scared and he won't watch it, and that's cool. Yeah. My youngest is 5, however, I don't like watch anything, but he'll catch things that I'm watching him, but he's also schizophrenic, where he'll be like, "Oh no, this is gonna happen! I'm scared," but he'll still have that like peeking through his hand type thing, He still watches it, but oh no, I'm a terrible parent. I should turn it off. But that's a whole debate with people. But that's my opinion. Again, I talked about opinions on the last podcast. It's okay. You raise your kid, I'll raise mine. Kind of thing.
And I mean, I've met your kids; they're doing pretty well, so I don't have any problems with that.
Let's see. Well, I guess I had a couple more things before I get into it. Facts, because that I wanted to get out of the way. The original title was actually Sleigh Ride, and it was one word, but it was sleigh, like SLAY ride. And it was developed by a couple of guys, and then they met another guy who did the script, and then they still were able to be executive producers. But I kind of feel, and I wasn't there, so I'm not saying this is a fact, but after watching the little documentary I told you I watched earlier, they definitely, to me, felt like they were not railroaded, but once it got to TriStar, and TriStar wanted to change this and that, and then they were like, well, can we get the rights for the name? And they said, no. Okay, can we have some kind of rights for future sequels? And they were like, no. They weren't even going to work with them. So in the end, sure, they ended up getting executive producer credit, but they basically got what is it called? It's like scale, which they're like, that basically means nothing. So they, to me, kind of got railroaded, but they also didn't write it, so the writer still got the credit and everything. But I thought that was kind of shitty of them to do that. But
yeah,
and then they eventually obviously changed the name, so then they really can't do anything about their title. But I always hate when stuff like that happens, but
yeah.
Let's see. Trying to see. Okay. All right. I only had a couple other quick things, and then I'll get into it. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I'm actually wearing the T-shirt right now. It's Joel Robinson, which I'm sure I've told you about before. He does a lot of artwork for these releases, like bigger releases. He did a really cool one, and it's on the menu of the Scream Factory too, and I got the shirt from him. It's just Billy standing in front of a Christmas tree, and then like a lot of the people he killed throughout the movie are just laying on the ground behind him, and he's holding an axe. It's really good artwork.
Nice.
Okay, I mentioned that. Okay, and then the absolute last thing of little tidbit facts aren't even really about the movie, but as you know, I'm a huge fan of that band Ice Nine Kills, and they did a song called Merry Xmas about Silent Night, Deadly Night, and that's one of my favorite songs that they did. I just saw them recently, and oh my god, they put on one of the greatest shows. They put on like Alice Cooper caliber theatrical type of show at the Palladium. It was so great.
Nice. And the Palladium, I bet that sounded so good.
Oh, and it did, and it was sold out, and it was a huge show. It was a huge show for them, and they recorded a DVD for it, so that's even better.
Nice.
So yeah,
I miss the Palladium.
Yeah, I know, right?
Want to throw that in there?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, in the past couple of years, up until like this year, because you know how much used to go, and I used to go even when I was younger. But the past couple of years, there wasn't a lot of shows. But this year, I mean, it's branching out a bit, but not for me because I like all kinds of music. It's mainly heavy, but there was a lot more shows this year. Like they're starting to do shows outside so they can have more people come. Like Papa Roach, like played outside, and A Day to Remember played outside, and they're starting to do that to have bigger shows. So that's cool. But yeah. But yeah, I bet you do. And there was always some good bands at like Rock and Shock too that we'd go like and check out whoever, and yeah. I don't do that every year.
See, Alice Cooper.
That's right. Because we did the when it was at the DCU. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was Alice Cooper, and it was Rob Zombie with him, and it was such a good show. The
only thing I still regret about that is we missed Murder Dolls. That sucked because I've never seen Murder Dolls. So I'm a huge Wednesday 13 fan overall anyway, but of course I love Murder Dolls. But that kind of sucked we missed them. But I think the times were off or something because we went there at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know with them.
Very true. All right. If there's anything else you want to talk about, or anything else you can think of that you thought of when you're watching the movie, or just
Uh,
shout it out?
yeah, no, just a lot of the kills were really fun. It felt like, and I read this on IMDb after, but it felt like whoever directed it started to like cut away from the gore and the violence,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
yeah, and I was reading online that some of the editors had to direct scenes because he couldn't direct the gore, like he wasn't a fan of it.
Yep. Yep.
So that was trippy to find out.
So, yeah, definitely. At least he wasn't that kind of director where he's like, no, this is my movie. You're not touching it. At least he was open for like, I know what you guys want and go for. I can't do this particular scene, but you can go ahead. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And I'll get into the like favorite kills too. Basically, I'll just dive into the movie, give it kind of a little idea for people who either have seen it or haven't seen it. But like I said, if you haven't seen it, you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast. But yeah, it pretty much starts where it opens Christmas Eve, 1971, where family is going to visit I think it's the mom's dad, because I know it's the kid's grandfather. I think it was the mom's dad. And he's in a mental. Yeah, that's what I thought. And he was in like a mental facility because they show that. I did a side note that I thought about when I was watching it, that I always get a kick out of watching older movies, and that was just the time, because they didn't really have seatbelts in old cars, and she's just holding the fucking baby in the front seat. Yeah. Like, oh man, I think of that now. Like, oh, back then I would not feel safe.
Yeah.
And then basically they just go there, and the grandfather is catatonic basically, and he doesn't talk or anything, and he's just motionless until everybody leaves the room. And of course he starts talking to Billy about Christmas Eve, and it's the scariest damn night of the year. I love his little monologue that he has. Yeah. What else does he say? Don't you know all about Santa Claus, Billy? He says, and he brings you presents. It's all the good boys and girls. And Grandpa says, your daddy told you that, didn't he? Santa Claus only brings presents to good boys and girls, but if you've been naughty, you'll get punished or whatever. I thought that scene was pretty intense, especially like I try to put myself in like the kids like point of view, like, oh my god, like that's the beginning of him being scarred, obviously.
Yeah.
And what else does he say? Like, if you see Santa Claus, you better run for your life and stuff like that. And then of course they get back in the car. They don't really necessarily believe him, but the mom totally is mom about it. Like, well, don't listen to your grandfather. He's crazy or whatever. And then of course you see a Santa who just robbed and killed a cashier just for, I remember him saying, 31 measly bucks. And I'm like, you just killed the guy for $31, shouldn't you? Like, that was pretty crazy.
He just hopped in the car and drove away.
Yeah. And then I'm guessing he ran out of gas or something, because he was just flagging him down on the side of the road, which I also thought was funny, because wasn't that a gas station? But whatever.
Yeah. He just drove off.
But he flags him down, and he basically just goes right into it, and he grabs the gun, except the dad does try to get away, but he shoots through the windshield and kills the dad. And then it seems like he's, I guess, kind of trying to rape the mother, but I don't think it gets that far because he just slits her throat. But
yeah, it looked like he was trying to start, and then she was struggling, and he was just done with it.
Yeah, exactly. And further fucking Billy up, he sees all of this, and throughout the movie he flashbacks to it. But somehow, I don't, like, in reality, I wonder how that really would have worked. Like, a little boy out there in basically the middle of nowhere. Like, who found him? Maybe somebody came by. I don't know. But Santa, obviously, the guy in the Santa suit obviously didn't get him. But and then the baby just left screaming in the car. That was pretty crazy. And then from there, it basically just flashes to a year later when they're in the what is it, like a nun-run orphanage. Yeah, exactly. that fucking Mother Superior that, no, he doesn't remember anything. It's fine. And then it doesn't help him in his head with the naughty things because they keep drilling that into his head, or she does. Do you know what they were doing? No, Mother Superior. But because he snuck out of his room, even though the other nun was the one who said he could come outside, and then he gets beat with a belt. It's like, Jesus Christ. Oh man, it's definitely intense stuff in that movie for sure.
Yeah.
All sorts, not just the killing.
Well, and there's one part where like after the beating and everything, he kind of chills out a little bit, and the one nun is talking to the Mother Superior, and the Mother Superior is like, "Oh, you'll see, he'll be fine. You know, he's going down my path." And she's like, "Yeah, he's always fine after Christmas." It's like, this is the time of year where he loses it. So yeah, like that one hit hard. It's like that. That
definitely. Like, oh, I know, in like complete denial.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention before they flash again to like, well, current day at that time, because it goes to 1984 when Billy's 18. But that part, I think it's right before that, where another Mother Superior moment that I was like, oh my God, you're such a horrible person. Like, she's supposed to be this big religious person, but she's totally that old school one. It's almost like not to this degree, but it almost reminded me of somebody who I always found this funny, where the first commandment is thou shalt not kill, but then there's people that kill in the name of God. Like, does that like, that's two different things. Like, but you get what I mean? Like, she has that like whole mentality of they're going to be punished and things like that. So obviously hers on a lower level, but what I was going to mention was the part where the poor kid has a nightmare, another flashback, and he's freaking out. So instead of trying to console him, she just ties him to his bed. I'm like, oh my God. I thought that was pretty awful.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, it flashes to Billy at 18, and he's gonna, well, the nice nun is trying, the one that's always had his back, so to speak, is trying to get him a job, and the guy's like, no, I don't want to need a kid. I need somebody strong and to lift him. And then he shows him, and I thought that was fun. And like, oh, okay.
I guess it'll work.
Yeah, right. What was another part at that same point? It's such a corny song, but I always get a kick out of it. Like I almost start singing it too, like the Warm Side of the Door song, like that Christmas song they were playing in little montage. I thought that was I always think that's funny. I actually like that song. It's like, it's a nice Christmas song, and everything's okay. Once I'm to this point, was there anything else you thought of that you wanted to mention? Like I said, just shout it out.
Yeah, nothing so far.
Oh, okay. Because if ever, I was listening to the other podcast, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, do I ever shut up? But at least I'm not. At least I feel like, well, at least I'm not just talking. I mean, I'm periodically asking you, like, do you have anything to say? You know, or just about me. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, and you know me, I just listen until I have something good. So.
Yeah. Okay. And then basically all that goes good when he's at the toy store until his boss asks him to play Santa for the kids or whatever, to be the Santa at the toy store. And as soon as I love that part where as soon as he tells the nun that that's what he did, it's almost like she just knows what's about to happen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen right off, except there is that one girl that it seems like, I think it seems like he likes her or something. Because doesn't he have like a dirty dream about her or something? But it's only a dream. But then when he sees her go with him, and he gets all pissed off about that. And I'm wondering, did it, like that totally kicked it in? And he also had never experienced alcohol, so I'm wondering if that didn't help a little bit. That might be a little tidbit, but I don't think that was like a main factor or anything, but it might not have helped.
Well, and he, the one girl that he looked like he was interested in, if you watch when they're standing at the counter and drinking and everything, she's like giggly with him, and she's giving him like the lovey eyes and stuff, and then the other guy comes over and just pulls her away, and it's like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
And,
he finally has feelings for someone, and then just bam, gone.
yeah. I'd be pissed too. I wouldn't
Yeah.
go that route, of course,
No.
but he's so fucked up at this point anyway that that's what he feels like. Oh well, that's the natural thing. You're being bad, so you got to be punished. But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, he goes. He sees him, and then he kind of not really follows him, but he's like he's observing them until he starts noticing the guy when they're in the back room, and she's trying to resist. So another part where it was almost a rape, where it seemed like he was going to rape her, and then he killed him. I thought that was a really cool scene, and it's believable too, because he's big enough where I would think that he probably could lift him up. Like he didn't lift him over shoulders or anything, but I thought that was cool, killing him with the lights.
The Christmas lights around the neck.
Yeah. It's so much so that his neck was starting to bleed. Like initially, when I first saw that, I was a little bit like, "Would your neck bleed?" But yeah, I guess. I mean, if you're
It's
pulling
like
hard enough,
cutting in, yeah.
and we don't know, like that, you can't see everything. So maybe a bulb could have broke. You know.
Yeah. I didn't
Just
even think about that.
Yeah. And then for like, maybe not, but I feel like, isn't there like a split second where he's almost like he turns back to normal for a second, almost like he's like, I'm sorry, but like he was gonna console her, but
Yeah, like it's over with. I took care of him.
and within seconds it just clicked, and he just naughty, and that's one of that's one of the kills that I was gonna say is one of my favorite kills. Is just it's not overly like, I mean, it is graphic, but it's with a tool like the fucking box cutter, and he just cuts up and up and up. And that was definitely one of the scenes that was initially cut out, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Because it goes to
Which is funny because it wasn't even that brutal. Like it was bloody, but it wasn't like overly gory.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I almost think it's almost like just an MPA thing, because it wasn't like for a giant company. Well, TriStar, I guess at the time was pretty big, because I think they were the ones that were. So they seem to focus the most on those, but they still tried with some of them to like keep cutting. But of course, every cliche thing to say, but in today's standards, like you said, that's nothing. They would have showed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then what else happened? He kills his boss. One thing I don't like is, I kind of don't like that you didn't initially see it, but they still did a really good job with the hammer. Like when they did show him like at the aftermath, because it looks like there's a hammer.
The claw stuck right in his head. And it's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of like if it's shot well, not seeing a kill, and that one wasn't bad. Like you see him raise the hammer, but then it cuts to boxes and there's blood splatter. I was like, all right, that wasn't bad. But then once you see the hammer in his head and he's just done, like that's when I was like, okay, that was worth it.
Yeah, definitely. What was another thing I wanted to back up to that I thought was funny? It's insignificant, but I thought it was funny. I think it's during the montage when that the asshole that we just talked about that he killed with the Christmas lights, and they're eating lunch, and he goes to offer him a flask of like some booze, and he just holds up his milk, and it's all I picture is like, nope, I'm a wholesome boy, you know.
Yeah.
I did this. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it made me think of like a good old country boy, like, gotta drink my milk to stay strong.
Exactly. And then what was the next kill? The I don't know what you'd call her. Maybe his assistant, kind of like the assistant manager, sort of, kind of.
Yeah. She was just, I don't know. There.
I don't know. Yeah, she was just there, but she was always talking to the main manager, like they were friends. So I'm wondering if she was like more higher up. But anyway, her kill wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a favorite necessarily personally, but
no, it kind of caught me a little off guard about like because there was a bow and arrow to the spine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, well, it was the '80s, so toys were a little more dangerous.
Yeah, true. It could have been nice and sharp.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. That's a good point. Let's see. Then what happens? Then the nun comes there after Billy leaves and finds everybody, and almost like, oh no, I knew it was going to happen. And then from there on, it's basically just like cat and mouse trying to get him. Like,
Yeah.
I won't go into too many more details. I guess the next few things I'll talk about is like certain really good kills. Like, who is it? The girl that he goes into her house. Her name's Lena Quigley. She did a lot of movies in the 80s and was mostly always topless, but she was in this too because that's just what she did.
I was gonna say too. It made me laugh because like they're downstairs in the basement, and, making out and everything, and then she's like, "Oh, I have to go let the cat in." She puts her shorts on, but that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, all right.
It's almost like that's her costume is nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's in quite a few movies.
Okay.
So the most notably that a lot of people would know her from is Return of the Living Dead. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but
you gave it to me, and I keep trying to get to it, and I just don't.
Okay, I forgot that I did. So no, don't worry about it, because again, like you said with the podcast, it'll make you watch movies. Yeah. I want to do one for that. I love that movie.
Yeah,
and you've got to see it.
Might be an episode.
Yeah, definitely. Don't take it seriously. It's more of
no.
It's definitely a horror comedy, and you like those anyway, so
yeah.
With the whole brains thing and everything, but as you know, in the other podcast, I got into that because I have a pet peeve about that with people that don't know about horror movies or zombie movies for that matter, and zombie brains. No, they don't. No, they don't. They didn't Return of the Living Dead, but it's usually like the younger generation that just says that because it's like it's been passed down from like I said on the other one. I don't want to call it the Walmart generation, but that's kind of what it feels like. Like people that don't know what they're talking about, that's just what they automatically think, and if people don't correct them, then they're not going to know. But yeah, that should definitely if you're up for it, I'll add it to. Like I don't want to start adding because I'm already starting a list of episodes that I'd like to do, but then the last one we talked about with the certain particular trilogy that we were talking about, that return should be not soon, like very close after that, for sure. And then we also just mentioned we'll do a Tucker and Dale one, so probably kind of leave it at that. But I'm always thinking of things, and I'll just keep adding to the list. And if we get to all of them, we get to all of them.
Yeah. If this thing keeps going for a long time, we can do everything.
Exactly. But before I get back to the movie, another couple movies I was going to mention with Lena Quigley, that is a lesser known, but if people know her, they might know these. The next title is a pretty crazy title. It's Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. It's a bunch of killer hookers, and ironically, or not ironically, I guess, Gunnar Hansen is in it, who played Leatherface in the first Texas Chainsaw. And there's chainsaw on the title, and he has a chainsaw, of course. So, and then two others that I'd recommend to anybody that's curious is a movie called Witch Trap and another one called Nightmare Sisters. But I'll get past her. But get to her cool kill. I thought that was a really good kill, especially, and a lot of that seemed to be cut out because you can tell when the initial lift up is there, but then when yeah,
they have like the shadow and everything, and then that's it.
Yeah. But then like I think you see it like completely push through the antlers. I thought that was really really good kill, and then they show like the aftermath, but it kind of switches back and forth real quick of like DVD quality and whatever that other quality you want to call it. But it was cool that they showed all that, because some people seem like, when I see reviews, kind of see that as a cop out or whatever. But I guess I know enough about movies to where when they're trying to restore a movie, sometimes that's the best you can do, like if the print is just that bad, because all the other ones have just been the ones without it, you know.
People don't store them. Like usually once the movie's edited and distributed, that's it. Like it goes into a box somewhere.
Yeah, I can't remember what the place was called, but that's why when Arrow released the Mutilator, they found an original uncut print at I can't remember, but it was some place where they just store movies, and it was just this place that like regular Hollywood people go to, and they just happen to have the Mutilator. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll do the Mutilator as well once, because I definitely want you to watch that.
Yeah.
I'll have more information on that, but I thought that was cool. I'm trying to think of other kills that I thought were great. Oh, the sled kill is pretty cool. I like that, where he just comes out of nowhere, just cuts his fucking head off. Punish or naughty, I can't remember.
I think he said punish on that one.
Okay.
Yep.
But that was a good one. And you see the head rolling down, but the part that's cut out is you see like graphically where like the decapitation of it's just the body now with no head. But I really
like how like the sled is blacked out for like maybe 20-30 seconds before it finally gets to the bottom of the hill, so you don't quite see that he's totally decapitated.
Right. Until it gets closer.
Yeah, I thought that one was cool. I like that there's a little bit of like suspense with it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I'm trying to another thing I wanted to mention, backing up a little bit. How did you feel? Did you end up watching? What was her name again? Your friend? Did you end up watching her, or did you watch it yourself?
Yeah, no, Vivian and I, we actually ended up watching it today.
Oh, that's right. Okay, you said today. That's cool. What did she think? Was she kind of on the same page, or was it a little too much? Or
no, she said it was a great movie. She was a big fan of it.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what to expect, because it could go either way. But
yeah. No, I'm finding she has some pretty good taste in horror. So
cool. Nice. But the reason why I brought that up is because I was curious what both of you thought of the scene where, unless you don't know, unless she didn't mention it, but I guess kind of what you felt. But if you know what she did, because I got thinking about it when I was watching it, the scene after he impales the Liana Quigley on the antlers with the little girl. Like, did you have a moment where you were thinking like, I don't know how this is gonna go? Is he gonna hit the girl, or?
We both did. Like we were talking about it as this happening. It was like, oh my god, is he actually gonna do this right now?
Yeah. And then once he believed her. Luckily, where have you been good all year? And then, well, Santa he has to give you a present, and it could seem morbid to somebody, but honestly, even though he's killing people, he still has that innocence to him.
Yeah.
Like that little boy that has just been traumatized, and I don't have anything except this bloody box cutter, so here you go. But as I giggle, that's another thing I wanted to mention. I don't know. I was curious what you guys thought. Where some movies are supposed to, as we talked about before, horror comedies or whatever. Some movies are supposed to be funny, or some movies are funny because they're bad, or like bad in a good way. But the writer, I forgot this when I watched the little documentary thing. He was convinced, like, to him, and to each their own. I personally don't, but he was convinced that he's like, yeah, there's a lot of funny parts in this movie, and I'm like, I don't find this movie funny. There's a couple of things that are like, oh geez, or whatever, but I didn't really find it funny. I don't know about you, but
no, like it had moments where like kind of that dry humor is in there, but it was never like oh ha 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 ha.
Maybe I just thought of this. Maybe because even though he wrote it, it was so over the top, and I always hate hearing that with somebody because it kind of takes a little bit away. But it didn't, because I love the movie so much that he wasn't even really a horror fan, but he got horror enough to write it. Like he wrote the movie, so obviously he did a good job. But maybe that was funny to him because he's not used to watching this crazy stuff. So instead of reacting like we would, like, oh my god, that's awesome, he didn't know what else to do except chuckle about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Like he thinks it's just so over the top, it's hilarious, but we're like, ooh.
Yeah. And then I'm still at the house because I said the decapitation, but I wanted to mention the guy that gets thrown through the window. Yeah. I don't understand how this could happen, but I guess anything's possible. It's like half the window, like the fucking piece of glass that's like in his side.
Yeah.
What the fuck? How did that happened, but you just go with it, kind of thing. Like, just go
The
with
only
it.
thing I thought was like that old school plate glass, the stuff that doesn't just shatter.
Hey, I didn't think of that. Like, it didn't come out all apart, so it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, like he hit one chunk and that was it. It got stuck in him and didn't break.
Yeah. And they had some in it, like his face, and
Yeah, like a couple more in his chest.
initially it was just for you for the first time seeing it. Initially, it probably just seemed like, oh, he threw him through the window, cool. But then when you see it, it's like, wow,
That's a lot of glass.
yeah, that was a interesting way to go with that.
Yeah.
But after the decapitation, from there on, there isn't too much more of the movie, if I'm remembering. I'm probably forgetting something. It's mainly like they're still trying to find him, and
Still trying to hunt him down.
yeah. So there's a couple more things I'll say before we get to kind of the end of the movie that I wanted to mention. That was a cool thing. There's a guy, his name is Steve Barton, but people in the horror community know him as Uncle Creepy, and I've known him for years. And like, I think he worked with like Fangoria and like Dread Central or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but he worked in that kind of field. But he does a podcast called Brainwaves Horror and Paranormal Podcast with another guy named Joe Netter, which I've actually come to know. We're on a first name basis. I talk to him all the time. I always see him at Rock and Shock. He is a writer. He's getting way more into like movies. Like, he has a movie that he showed me the full official trailer called Blind, which is also his girlfriend Sarah's in it. She's an actress. And you might have seen some things coming up, but maybe not. There's this movie coming out called Hanukkah, and it's like a horror movie about Hanukkah, because that's never happened, and he wrote that.
I like the idea of that.
But he has a lot of like horror books, but he just writes short stories. They're not really hard to find, but I just buy them from him, so I'm not always looking. And then he just has funny movies, like funny books. Like, there's a book that when I met him, he's like, yeah, I'm probably gonna take this down from like Amazon or this or that, just because of the climate of how people kind of are today. They might not take it as a joke like it is, but he had a book from a good 10 years ago, maybe a little less, that on the cover is him and the guy Uncle Creepy that I mentioned, and they're in bed together. Actually, I believe he said it's in Worcester, and between him is like a blown up skeleton, and the book is just called Let's Be Gay Together, and it's just a bunch of like stupid, corny little poems that each one of them wrote, and it's hilarious. But he's like, unfortunately, some people aren't like getting that today. Like, it's a different time, so to speak. So
yeah,
but it's like, I have the book, thankfully. So anyway, what the connection is with Silent Night Deadly Night is on the back of the Scream Factory Blu-ray. He has a little quote that I wanted to say. Let's see. Where is it? But he said, is an ultra sleazy guilty pleasure. Now, I'll stop there with the guilty pleasure. I don't have guilty pleasures. I actually have to give a shit of what people think about me to have a guilty pleasure, so I don't have those. But anyway, that's what he calls it. Guilty pleasure that aired in my household at least once every December. For me, it's right up there with the Grinch Who Stole Christmas cartoon. So I thought that was cool that he mentioned that. I was like, oh, nice, because I get it. Me too.
Yeah.
I always watch them. And then I guess fast forwarding the movie a little bit, because initially there's a cop that thinks that he is there, and he tries to get him to stop, and it ended up being the like a priest or something, like it was father or something from across the street, but he ended up shooting him, and he's like, he's deaf, he wouldn't have heard you. That part I definitely felt bad for the guy.
Yeah.
But when Billy does finally get there, and the cops aren't there yet or whatever, and I love his like dying words. He just says, "You're safe now. Santa Claus is gone," and then he just dies. But then it like switches, because now it's almost like passed on to his brother. Like, he's getting old enough to where he's getting fucked up. So Ricky that's how the movie ends, and he just is like naughty, and then it has that music.
Yeah.
And then it goes credits and then starts playing Christmas music, which I found funny because I mean it's a Christmas movie, but because of what just happened, and then they go to like nice Christmas music or whatever. But
Yeah.
I like the soundtrack too because it wasn't all Christmassy
tones. Oh yeah.
but the score, the score was definitely great. I wanted to mention that that type of movie. But overall, like I said, it's my favorite Christmas horror movie. I keep wanting to say Christmas slasher movie, but it's even past that. It's favorite Christmas horror movie because there's a lot of those, and I definitely, if we have time, like to do at least one more before Christmas, if that's cool with you, for like a horror Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I know. I mentioned to Dylan about Black Christmas. I know he's doing his thing, but we'll figure it out. There's definitely a few. I was trying to find ways for you to see it, like streaming wise, because I know some of them are more obscure, so that'd be the easiest way. But I know Black Christmas is on Prime right now, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll do that. I don't know if you've seen that yet or not, but
No, I haven't watched it.
I've been looking for one that it's not a straight up horror movie, like it gets there, but it's called Christmas Evil. That's another one of my favorites, but that one's not streaming anywhere. And then even more obscure, there's another one, and I'm more or less telling you, but I'm also, if anybody's listening and curious, that's kind of newer to horror, doesn't really know many horror Christmas movies, is Don't Open Till Christmas. It's like from the UK, but that one's pretty good. So those are definitely ones that I watch around December, but I always watch Silent Deadly Night either first or like on Christmas, but I figured I wanted to do the podcast, so I watched it. It was like my first Christmas movie I watched, and then that was kind of why before I was like, I just need a little bit more time because I didn't set anything else up, and me and Jen got watching our favorite, like, it's not my personal favorite overall, but it's not hers, but together to watch. We were watching Christmas Vacation because we love that movie and we're always reciting it and stuff, but I love that movie. I assume you've seen that.
Oh yeah.
That one's definitely great. I'm sure you see around Christmas time because I usually either tag you in it or whatever. It's always that one scene with Eddie where "Merry Christmas, shooter was full." That's one of my favorite lines. But
yeah.
Any other like, even if it's not horror, because we kind of got to the end of the movie, I'll mention sequel stuff at the end. But any other Christmas movies that either you like to watch or try to watch or remember as a kid that you remember loving that you like to watch around this time or try to?
I mean, there's always classics like The Grinch is great. Christmas Vacation is so much fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One that it seems to be like more popular is Die Hard, because technically it's a Christmas
but hearing
film.
that more and more.
Yeah.
Technically it's a Christmas film, and I'm not one way or the other. I haven't nailed down in my head whether I agree or not, but it's on Christmas, and
Yeah.
my Thanksgiving movie, I even have a Thanksgiving movie like this in comedies I watch every year that week, is Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. So
Nice.
that's typically on the week of Thanksgiving. I mean, it ends and like he gets home. Spoiler alert! That then it's on Thanksgiving. So it's kind of that idea if I want to look at it that way. But is there any other ones that you can mention, even if it's something that you wouldn't think listeners like it would be like, oh really? But we're just talking, so I look at it that way too.
No, not really. Like I don't have like a Christmas tradition or anything. Yeah, the only one like we would watch. We didn't even really watch it. We would just have the Christmas Story because was it TBS does the 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we always had that in the background, but yeah, I don't really have like a go-to Christmas list.
Little tidbit on, because all this movie nerd knowledge. I love when people mention Christmas Story because I do like Christmas Story. It's not necessarily my top anything, but I do like it. The director, Bob Clark, he was such a good director because he directed so many different kinds of movies. But we mentioned Black Christmas a little bit ago if we want to watch that, and he directed that. So he did do horror movies at first. He did the Porky's movies. I don't know if you've heard of those or seen those.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
He's like, oh yeah, he did those. So he did all kinds of movies. he did comedies, he did horror movies, he did family Christmas movie, So he was definitely a cool director.
Right on.
Yeah, for me, I'm just like anything. First and foremost, I'm a horror guy, so I mostly watch horror movies. But I love movies in general too. Kind of like music. I love heavy music, but I like music and I love music as a whole as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
same.
so there's definitely quite a few movies I like to watch in December. Like I love the first two Home Alones. Um, what a silly one that I always like to watch. Sometimes I like to watch it with Ed because I introduced it to him is the Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That movie's
Oh,
hilarious. so I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to that too. But then I also like movies like with Dennis Leary, The Ref. I don't know if you've ever seen that or heard of that, but that
I
one's
know
fun.
the name, but I've never actually seen it.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's pretty good. And I even go because, and this is even before I was a kid. I don't give a shit, like I just mentioned before, about guilty pleasures. That doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
I don't care about saying it for all these people to hear, including especially you. But I even like some of the more kid stuff. Like I love the Santa Claus movies. I love all kinds of Christmas movies. But my absolute favorite Christmas movie, like I said, Silent Night, Deadly Night, is my favorite Christmas horror movie. But my favorite Christmas movie that I watch every Christmas Eve, and I try to watch it with Daniel because it's not kind of our thing. Last year it didn't happen, but I watched it with Dylan, so that was kind of cool. Starting something else is Bill Murray's Scrooged. I love Scrooged.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great movie.
I love that movie. That's definitely a recitable movie for me for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of any other like Christmas horror movies, but I mentioned a lot of like favorites. I mean, there's some newer ones that aren't necessarily favorites that I try to watch, but especially the Silent Night, Deadly Night. Now, as I said, I'll get into sequels. I guess I'll do that now. The second one is, as I mentioned at the beginning, is a lot of people's favorite, but I've always haven't been too big on it personally. Like I get it more now as I get older, where I like quote unquote shitty movies, but it's like a whole other thing. Like this movie to me is like a serious, like good horror movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, yes, it's Ricky now, and he's older. But the guy is so over the top. And I've seen him on like one other thing, and I was like, wow, so you can act. Because on this movie, it's just so over the top that, and this is what people like about it. And I get it. I like bad movies too, but I guess for me, I had seen this before I kind of got that, like that movies that are bad can be good. But I try. I mean, I bought the Blu-ray because it had Joel Robinson's art on it and everything, but it's funny. That one is funny just because it's bad, but if you ever see it, don't expect this movie because and the other thing that's annoying is you'll see a third of that movie is the first one because they flash back like too much. Like on this one they flash back because it's memories. On the second one they flash back because they're just basically telling the whole fucking first movie again, so it's annoying to me. And I know some listener would be like, how dare you, that's a great movie. Okay, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
It's a fun, if you want to watch good garbage, I guess I'll give it that. But
yeah.
And then because none of them other than the first two really have anything to do with each other, I'd always pick the first one over any of them. But the third one is actually pretty good.
Okay.
It's not good again like the first one, but I know when I tell you this next part, you'll be like all over it because Bill Moseley's in it, and he's the killer.
Oh.
And there's a whole thing with this movie. I wouldn't even get into it. Like, but he also I don't think he has any lines in the movie. Like, it's a total like stone like type of thing, and he gets like this weird brain thing, and I don't want to get into it, but yeah, Bill Moseley's in it, so I wanted to mention that because I figured you'd be like, oh, like you did.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend the third one, Silent Night, Deadly Night 3.
Okay.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 is okay to me, and again, these are all my opinion, obviously, because I try not to state any of my opinions like a fact because that bugs me. People are like, it's the best thing ever. Well, yeah, but that's your opinion.
Yeah.
so that's not possible. The fourth one's not too bad. I'm trying to remember. I know Clint Howard's in it. He's in a lot of like random things. His part's okay. I could be even saying it wrong, but I think it's about like I can't remember what it's about. I want to say it's like a coven or something, but it's different
Oh,
for sure. I even got it wrong, but I don't think it's that great. But if I recommended any of them to you, I would say check out 3. I know
okay.
people would be like check out 2 as well, and yeah, sure, check out 2 if you want to laugh, but um, it's it's bad in like a good way, I guess. But that took me a long time to get there, as I said. Um, trying to without too much dead air because I'm looking up Silent Night Deadly Night 4 because I want to make sure I get it right.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it is. It's called Silent Night Deadly Night 4 Initiation. I believe it has something to do with Coven. Let's see. Um, where are we? Let's see. You can cut out this out when I'm rambling and not talking because I'm looking at something. Let's see. Leader of a she woman. Oh, okay. It's a cult.
Okay.
It's a cult movie, but at the same time, Brian Yuzna directed it, and he did Reanimator and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So you might like that. He did Return of the Living Dead 3 and a whole bunch of stuff.
Nice.
The Dentist Society. Anyway, but that one's not terrible. The fifth one is interesting, I guess. That was the one I actually kind of saw in the past couple years, so I hadn't seen that since. Well, I should say saw it again in the past couple years.
Mm.
But it's called The Toy Maker, and it's
That sounds
basically
good.
yeah, you might have seen it. Mickey Rooney's in it actually.
Okay.
He's like an actor. But yeah, the movie is basically just about this guy who owns a toy shop. I can't remember any exact details again, but yeah, that one's not too bad. I want to say might have something to do with like the toys killing people, but I can't remember to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But no, it's not too bad. I know he dresses up as Santa Claus, but I can't remember if he's the killer or not. So that's not really helping anyone listening that's like, well, what is it about? I don't remember. So it didn't make that big of an impact on me like the other ones, but I
Mm.
wanted to mention those. There isn't too much else I wanted to mention. I know we talked about before briefly with the Black Christmas because there is a remake of that too.
Mm.
That one isn't too bad. They remade the remake. That one I'm trying not to be like some people where they're automatically like, I hate it, and you haven't seen it, but it does
Yeah.
look pretty bad.
Well,
Um,
after we talked about it, I looked it up. It is PG-13.
yeah, true. So that's not
Yeah.
gonna help.
That doesn't. Yeah. And I'm not saying PG-13 horror is bad, but it's
Because
not
sometimes,
always the best.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to think of any other Christmas stuff, but I think that's about it for anything I could think of to talk about. But if we want to, we could even end on that. I'm just briefly looking up anything else I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Oh, Silent Night Deadly Night did kind of have a remake. I don't consider it a remake. It's like it's a reboot more or less, but it was
Okay.
just called Silent Night. That one's not too bad because it does have some of like the almost like a tip of the hat to some of certain things from Silent Night Deadly Night, but it's not even close to being as good. But Malcolm McDowell's in it, so
Oh, right on.
that's good. For one newer movie I did want to mention, there's quite a few movies with the title Krampus, but there's a Krampus from 2015, if that helps people. That was really good. That was cool. That was a good one. But other than that, just I guess usual ones that people already pretty much know about, like Gremlins or whatever. I'm sure I know people watch those, and
Mhm.
I like them too.
Yeah, they're
Um,
fun.
Stupid shit, but stupid shit in a good way. Like I said, if I say stupid shit, it's not always a bad thing. It's not negative. Which these you might have heard of the Jack Frost movies, the Killer Snowman.
Yeah.
I I get a kick out of those. Those are fun.
I've never seen them. I've just seen like
No.
the gifs and the cover of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure I'm blanking on some of them, but those are ones that I would like to mention. And the last one I'll probably mention, because if Dylan listens to this, I'm sure he will at some point, would kill me because he mentioned it on his podcast being one of his favorites, or like honorable mention was the movie Dead End.
Okay.
That happens on Christmas, so it's not really a Christmas movie, but hey, it happens on like Christmas Eve. So, but that's a super good one. It basically is this family on their way to like a Christmas party, and it's almost like a Twilight Zone episode where the road just doesn't end, and they just keep driving, and then gradually like some of the family will disappear, like they'll get out of the car because they'll do this, but that's actually part of Dylan's podcast when I thought of the time when we were in the middle of nowhere, when the GPS told us to go nowhere, and we came to that road and it was a pile of dirt, and then we just started talking about that kind of stuff. That's basically what that kind of, in a nutshell, kind of what that movie is about, like things that we were talking about to a degree, like what happened or this or that. But that's about it. I guess I've rambled on enough about Christmas. Sorry, I'm always, like, I'll listen to it again. I'll be like, dude, just shut up. But I always try to make sure I mention this to you or whatever, if there's anything else you wanted to say. So I'm always including that. But
yeah, no. Going back a little, like one of the things I thought of when we were talking about the antler scene for Silent Night, Deadly Night, it definitely reminded me of like a little homage to like Texas Chainsaw or My Bloody Valentine. Like that lifting someone up and impaling them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. I didn't even think of that. Good point.
Yeah. When I was watching, I was like, oh, cool. That's definitely like maybe it's just a common thing and I haven't noticed, but I was like, that's got to be from those movies.
Yeah, it could be. I didn't think of that. Maybe it was like as they call it, a horror trope when that guy was writing it. They're like, this is a good idea, but he's never mentioned that, so maybe it was subconscious too. Like maybe he didn't realize, but I didn't think of that. Touche! You thought of something else. I wouldn't have even thought of that. Good job. But that's cool. Good point out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if that's about it. I keep wanting to mention one other recommendation that's not a horror movie, but again, if people listening just like Christmas movies and they haven't seen this movie, it's called Trapped in Paradise. I don't know if you ever heard that before, but Dana Carvey's in it, and John Levison's in it, and it stars Nicolas Cage, and it's about I think they're called they're brothers anyway, and Nicolas Cage picks up his two brothers, and they're kleptomaniacs, and Dana Carvey's a kleptomaniac, and John Lovitz is a pathological liar, and he picks him up from prison, and they basically just scam him until they get to this town that they want to rob a bank in, and then they. But I won't say any more about it. But that's a really fun movie. It's called Trapped in Paradise. It's pretty funny too.
Right on. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, definitely. If you ever come across it, I mean, this is a horror podcast, but I'll randomly talk about other movies too, or music or whatever. But I guess I know I've said this a couple times, but I think that's all I wanted to say. If you're good, then we can sign off on this one.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. The one thing when you were telling me about part 2 for Silent Night, Deadly Night, I looked it up just to see who the actor was.
Yeah.
And I realized right away as soon as I saw the picture of him, he's the guy that it became a whole meme where he goes out and he's like, garbage day, and just shoots the dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh.
I was going to mention that, but then I thought of something else simultaneously and I did it. But that's the biggest thing to it. Yeah. That part though is in the Ice Nine Kill song but it gets like,
oh really?
Like to the point of like he's growling, like it's like death metal brutality at that point, but he's saying like garbage day, it's time to take out the garbage or whatever. That part's cool. I like that. But but yeah, if you ever just want to watch, and I know people listening or like I said, but whatever, it's an opinion. If you do want to watch something that's just you just want to laugh at, that's something to watch, because I'll probably watch it next begrudgingly just so I can get to 3 because I want to watch whatever other ones. But yeah, or if you just want to skip to 3 because 3's decent, that's up to you.
Yeah.
Is there any particular one that I've mentioned to kind of leave it at the next one that we might want to do? Is there anything you had thoughts on, or?
Not that I could really think of. The one trilogy one. I don't want to give it away just yet, but that one definitely piqued my interest.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I kind of wanted to try, if you're cool with it, to do at least one more horror Christmas movie before Christmas, and because we still have time before then, even if we do it again next week, if you're still cool like when we did it this time, that works for me too.
I'm definitely down.
But yeah, I'll think of something. I think the easiest one for us to watch, and it's a classic, is probably Black Christmas, if you wanted to do that, because it's on Prime. So
yeah, that'd be easy. I'm good for that.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll shoot for that. I don't want to step on Dylan's toes, so to speak, because I know he's going to be doing that, but he's going to be doing an extended of that anyway, so it won't be the same, because he's going to do he's going to show Brandy, he does the podcast with the original and the remake. So we'll just stick with Black Christmas and just talk about that and talk about whatever. So that sounds good to me. If I figure out any other way that you can see any of the other ones, that might change, because I really would like to show you either Christmas Evil or Don't Open Till Christmas, but I don't know if that's going to happen because they're way more obscure.
Yeah.
I was even trying on Tubi and I couldn't find it, and that's saying something, because usually even on Tubi, I don't really like to watch Tubi personally. I know a lot of horror fans are like, there's so many horror things. Yeah, but I hate watching commercials if I can help it. And complaining because it's free, obviously, but yeah. So we'll stick with. We'll stick as of right now. We'll say it's Black Christmas. If we don't do Black Christmas and we end up doing something different, like if I'm like, if you're cool with this, let's do this instead. We'll definitely do it sometime in the future. So we'll leave it open if we don't. I guess I'll leave it at that. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, that works for me.
All right. So I guess that's it for this one. Right? You're good?
Yeah. The only thing I was gonna say is for anybody that's listening, if you guys want to leave comments, ask us stuff, give us ideas, definitely do it.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, because there's a 90% chance that I'll probably own it and I'll figure out how you can see it, kind of thing. Or you might even have it too, like in the bunch of movies that I gave you, like, hey, I wanted to watch that anyway.
Yeah.
Good idea. One thing that I didn't want to mention too, because you mentioned that I didn't in some of my posts and I edited them, is, and I know it's the thing that everybody says, but it really does help. Anybody that hears it from when either one of us share it or somebody else does, definitely like and subscribe, because that really does help more people checking it out, because the more numbers there is, it's easier to find. It was cool though, first episode, because remember I was like, I can't find my page. Why can't I find my page? When you uploaded that, you can find it now if you just type in the Horror of It All Movie Podcast. It's a little bit down on YouTube, but if you scroll a little bit, it's there. So
nice.
Not hard to find. So okay.
We're already up to 40 something views on it, so doing pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, nice. So anybody that's viewing it or whatever, if you like what you hear, just like I said, like and subscribe. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So I guess this has been the Horror of It All Movie Podcast with Eric and Adam, and we'll I don't know what I was trying to say, but I just
we'll be back.
Edit that out. We'll be back. I'm slowly getting it better. At least I'm not mentioning another podcast when I say it. So anyway, this has been the Horror of It All Movie Podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.